In the great kingdom of Oyo, where tradition was law and the will of the gods could not be questioned, a young woman's fate was sealed the moment she was chosen. Adesewa never asked for this life. She never dreamed of wearing the finest beads or walking in a palace where the walls whispered secrets. Yet here she was, dressed in the richest fabrics, her wrists heavy with gold, being led to the throne room of King Adewale, a man more than twice her age. The entire palace was alive with celebration. Drums thundered, dancers twirled, and the scent of roasted meat filled the air. The people of Oyo rejoiced, for their king had taken another wife. As she knelt before him, Adesewa kept her head bowed. "She is beautiful," the king said, his voice deep and commanding. "She will make a fine wife." The crowd cheered and the queen mother smiled, but Adesewa felt nothing. The moment she stepped into the palace, she realized she was not the only one watching her. Among the king's royal guards stood Akinsola, a fearless warrior known for his loyalty. Their eyes met for only a second, but something passed between them. A flicker of recognition, an unspoken connection. It was foolish. It was dangerous. But love does not listen to reason. At first, it was just glances, a stolen moment in the palace courtyard, a lingering touch as he helped her onto a horse. But soon, the moments became something more. A touch that lasted too long, a gaze that burned too deep, a love that should never have begun. Adesewa tried to resist. She reminded herself of her duty, of her place as the king's wife. But one evening, under the moonlit sky, Akinsola found her standing alone by the palace fountain. "You should not be here," she whispered. "Neither should you," he replied. And in that moment, beneath the watchful eyes of the gods, they gave in. But what they did not know was that the Queen Mother saw all. Queen Olanke had ruled alongside kings for many years. She knew the difference between loyalty and betrayal, and she could see the way Adesewa's heart had shifted. She watched as the second wife smiled less at her husband and more at the god. She saw the way Akinsola stiffened whenever the king touched Adesewa's hand. She heard the whispers in the corridors, the murmurs of servants who had seen too much. One evening, she summoned Adesewa. "You are playing with fire, child," the queen mother said, her voice calm but firm. "Do not let that fire burn you alive." But it was already too late. That night, Adesewa and Akinsola met again. "Run away with me," he begged. "Leave the palace. Leave this life. We can be free." Her heart screamed yes. Her duty whispered number. And then footsteps. A dozen guards stormed the garden. The king had found out. "Seize them!" Akinsola fought. He fought like a man with nothing to lose because in truth he had already lost. But against the king's warriors he stood no chance. They dragged him before the king, his face blooded, but his spirit unbroken. "You betrayed me," King Adewale's voice was cold. "I loved her," Akinsola answered, staring defiantly into the king's eyes. The hall fell silent. Then, "You shall never love another." The punishment was swift. Death by execution. The entire kingdom gathered the next morning to witness the judgment. Adesewa fell to her knees before the king, her hands trembling. "Please," she whispered, tears streaming down her face. "Spare him." But the king did not look at her. The executioner raised his blade. "Stop!" The queen mother's voice rang through the air. "My son, do not stain your hands with blood. There are worse punishments than death." The king hesitated. Then, with a single nod, he spared Akinsola's life. But his punishment? Exile, banished from Oyo, never to return. A man with no name, no home, no honor. And Adesewa? She remained in the palace, but she was never free. The king never touched her again. Her beauty faded, her laughter disappeared. She became a ghost within the royal walls. And as for Akinsola, some say he died in the forests. Others say he still roams the outskirts of the kingdom, waiting for the day he can return. But one thing is certain: in a kingdom ruled by power, love alone is never enough. And that, my friends, is the tragic tale of the king's second wife. What do you think? Was love worth the risk, or was their fate sealed from the start? Let me know in the comments. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe for more African stories, and turn on the notification bell so you never miss a new upload.